In this video, we're going to show the process of making this gate. Like all projects, you start out with taking exact measurements of the heights you wanted to get and transfer it to the material. In this case, I'm using 4-inch square tubing that's a 1/4 inch thick. Using a special blade for cutting steel is so much better than a cutoff wheel. It cuts cleaner, nicer, and straighter. Definitely worth doing. So each time you do a measure, then you cut. This piece of steel is a 1x4, and this is the first cut because I wanted to make it all angled and fit together in a frame like this. And so I cut to the size I wanted for the height and width, and then I measure this opposite corners, so you can make sure everything is squared, and I just tack it into place before you weld it. This helps keep it more straight and even as you go. Next, I bring over the post and I line up the gate height to the height of the post so everything's even once it's hung. And then I tack welded on the brackets that are made for the gate. On the post, you put a part that looks like a little spindle going up, or like a little metal rod coming up. And then on the gate side, it's opposite and it has a hole and it slides on to the part with the rod. There you can see it better. And once you get it all lined up where it needs to go, make sure you clean all the metal for a good weld. And obviously you see me measuring over and over again. You want to make sure you get it right. These angle magnets are perfect for holding things for welding. Here I really wanted to see how well it hung, so I ratcheted it up to the post and had my son help me put it on and make sure everything was square. Once I confirmed everything was square, I went ahead and did the finish welds around the whole gate to make sure the frame was solid and wouldn't warp or move. It was a real pain in the back doing the welding on the ground, but it's the largest flat surface I could work on, so I did the sanding on this makeshift bench area. Next was laying out the slats to figure out how to get them to the center and with the spacing that I needed between them so everything came out even. I was also told by my welding friend to leave a tiny gap for welding. That way, as it heats up and it expands, it won't warp and push itself out. So I did that as well. And here I used a couple of small, I think it was like 1/2 inch particle board to get the spacing, so I was able to weld each slat right in the center of the frame. So it was centered between both sides, front and back of the gate. And so I already had everything pre-marked from doing the rough layout, and now I'm just tacking it into place. Here it is all tacked up, and I welded it standing on its end so I can just sit and go vertically up and down, and then I move it, flip it over, and then do the other side. So I welded it fully on both sides. That gap was there, and so it was easy to fill. So I cut 4-inch slat for the top of the posts to seal them. And I guess I didn't film that part, but here I am putting in the tabs for screwing into, using concrete screws, screwing into the fence and also into the wall of the house. So that way they were held up as the concrete set up. And that way we got a really strong post. And those gates turned out to be super heavy. And I know how heavy because I actually installed them by myself, and that was a bit of a challenge, to say the least. I used a Rust-Oleum hammered spray paint. I didn't powder coat because I felt like if there was a nick or something that needed, I can always respray. That's why I did it that way.
I didn't record this part, but I decided to, on this side, put some Bondo on the part where I welded the seam and then ground it down. It's just a little bit, I mean, it was clean and everything, but I thought this would smooth it out even more. And so I have left to sand this side and the corner over there, but I sanded these last night. And it just gives it a nice, clean, smooth finish. And should just look a little bit more perfect when it's painted.
I used a wire brush to go through every surface and prep it for the paint. After wire brushing everything, I'd go through and spray on rubbing alcohol and wipe it all down, make sure everything was clean and dust free and ready to accept the paint. As a tip, don't paint facing down. You end up getting drips when you spray down, so it's much better to spray vertically, and that's what I did on the second gate. But I did about 3 coats. I tried using a rotary drill and a spike to chip it out. I ended up buying this on clearance, and it made the work to chip out some concrete that was in the way of the post. Really quick work. Totally worth the money. So after we finally got the concrete poured, the posts were super solid, and I was able to bring them out, and they were super heavy. So what I ended up doing is taking a tow strap and hooking it down there and wrapping it around my shoulder. And I was able to just use my hands to help guide it into place and put it onto the posts. And it worked out really good. I'm super happy. Gaps are all looking great.
So if you really want it all open, you open this one up to the left and forward. And that one can just go right up against the wall, and it's like a complete opening. So Bernadette didn't like the rocks here. And here, can you see it moving by the wind? No sound, no squeaking. I thought I'd have to put some plastic washers underneath, but it works pretty good. But anyway, I didn't get enough rocks, but I'm not going back to get more. This is the same what we have up front, so if we don't use it back here, I can use it, cover some bare spots up front. But I think we might do the artificial grass around these pavers as well. I don't think it looks too bad now. I guess I'm getting kind of used to it, but there's progress. But for that, the gate is pretty much finished. Just needs some cleanup, but I'm happy with the way it turned out.